Good morning. I'm Lieutenant Alan Gregory of the Department of Fish and Wildlife's Advanced Hunter Education Program. Today we're going to talk about the program and what it can offer and what you guys can do for me. So let's get started. So the Advanced Hunter Education Program clinics are designed to teach either species-specific information or skill-specific information. For the species-specific stuff, we're going to do deer hunting classes, turkey hunting classes, pig, upland game, waterfowl. For the skill-specific classes, we're going to do first aid, marksmanship, land navigation, horse packing, game cooking, hunting with air guns, hunt planning, game processing, and more classes in the future as I can come up with them. So in these clinics, we're going to cover species-specific laws and regulations, where to hunt, species natural history, the biology and habitat information, hunting methods, field crafts, basic game care, and cooking and recipes. So the Advanced Hunter Education Program has me and it has you guys, the volunteer instructors. Just for information, in 2016, volunteer instructors spent 228 hours in the classroom, 184 hours of prep time, 144 hours on travel for a total of 556 hours. That gives us $15,340 of grant matching that we can put back towards our federal grant. In 2016, we had 20 classes offered through the program, 542 registrations at class time. That was taken into account last minute cancellations. There was a total of 605 seats offered out of those 20 classes. In 2017, we've had 11 clinics open for registration with 341 seats available. 324 students have attended, and with 632 people on the waiting list for those 341 seats. These classes generally centered around the large population areas, Los Angeles area, the San Francisco Bay Area, and we do have other classes that are offered in more rural areas. But as you can see from this following breakdown, most of the students are coming from counties with large population centers. And that tells us there's people in those areas that are traditionally not thought of as hunting areas that are hungry for information that we offer in these classes. So from this chart, you can see the age breakdown of students. Most of the students, approximately 80% of them, come from the range of 25 to 55 years old. We have about 10% women and about 10% juniors, but the majority of the students are coming from that middle age range. We have the waiting list with the event manager. It makes it very easy for us to use the waiting list to our advantage. And in 2016, we had 602 people registered on the waiting list. The three most desired classes were the wild pig hunting. Everybody wants to kill pigs. The deer hunting and the turkey hunting classes. As you can see, there's 122 people just on the waiting list for pig classes, 79 on deer, and 66 on the turkey. This year, we've blown that out of the water. For one pig class I offered this year in April, we had 194 people on the waiting list for the one class. The two deer classes had over 100 people each on the waiting list for the seats. So what's the future of the program? The future is there's a large portion of new hunters that are hungry for information. And moving forward, we're going to try and offer more classes, new venues, and new topics. So what are the limitations of the program? It's only limited by involvement. There's only one of me. I can only offer so many classes throughout the state because I have to travel to them. So how can you guys help me? You can get involved. You can come up with new venues, new locations, and new topics. So if you're interested at all in becoming an advanced hunter ed instructor or just coming out to help out, just get a hold of me. You can find my information on the webpage. Send me an email and what you're interested in, and I'll get back to you and we can go from there. So I really want to say thank you guys for doing what you guys do. As volunteer instructors, we wouldn't be able to offer this program without you. So thank you again. And if you have any questions, get a hold of me. Thank you. Bye.
Good morning. My name is Marc Kenyon, Supervising Wildlife Biologist for the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. I oversee the department's mountain lion conservation and management program out of the headquarters unit in Sacramento. Today I wanted to talk with you folks a little bit about a project that we're working on to better understand mountain lions in the state, the relevancy to the game management program. But before I get really going into that, I wanted to give a brief history about where we currently are with mountain lions and how we got here. Mountain lions have a varied history in management in California through their past. From 1907 to 1963, they were considered a bountied animal. And during that time, because of the bounty, counties and the state had really detailed records as to how many animals were being removed and where they were being removed from. In 1963 to 1969, the mountain lions were considered to be a non-game mammal. As you know, they can be hunted and killed at any time in any number. But in 1979, the department wanted to afford additional protection on mountain lions. And so we put them under the protection of a game mammal status. Now, as you know, with game mammals, we can have regulations set in place to limit their take in number and to limit the take geographically, where they're distributed. In 1972, Governor Reagan at the time passed a moratorium on mountain lion hunting in the state. And this was in response to some public pressure saying that there might be too many mountain lions being removed from the population. And without direct population estimates, we really had no basis to refute that claim. So in '72, Reagan passed this moratorium, no mountain lion hunting. And every 4 years, that would sunset, and the state legislature would have to argue and make a determination whether or not to allow hunting. That continued until 1986, when that moratorium ultimately sunset. At that time, mountain lions reverted back to a game mammal status, during which the Department of Fish and Wildlife was starting to work on hunting regulations for mountain lions. Because of the environmental review process, the department got sued on the adequacy of our hunting regulations at the time. And that kind of stalled them being moved from a game or into a game mammal status. While that stall was in place, the people of the state rallied together and came up with a ballot initiative. You might remember it as Proposition 117. Now, Props 117 would ban mountain lion hunting in this state in perpetuity. And it passed with a narrow margin. 53% of California voters believed that mountain lions needed to be protected. That decision was handed to the department by the state legislature. And that's where we currently are today. Now, beyond the bounty period, there really was no great records as to how many lions there were or where they were distributed. As we see with our game species, deer, elk, antelope, we can estimate those populations by looking at how many animals are removed. Well, without removing animals from a population, it's very difficult for us to estimate them. But, as you can see here on this slide, we've taken some information that we have accumulated. We've taken some bounty era data and coupled it with depredation removals. These are removals for protection of livestock. And as you can see at the end of this graph, on the far right, that dark gray band that's in there, we have somewhere between 500 and 5,000 mountain lions in the state. Now that's not very adequate for us to be able to tie into game management. That estimate of 500 to 5,000 animals is very difficult for us to incorporate into our hunting regulations for deer, elk, antelope. And that's what our project is here to do. We're trying to refine this estimate. And we're going to do it by looking more specifically on smaller units. At the state scale, it really doesn't make much sense to estimate lion population because you might have an area of the state where lions are highly concentrated and other areas of the state where deer might occur where lions aren't really impacting them and they're not there in great number. So what we're working on is using genetic techniques, as shown on here, that the mountain lion population is actually distinct enough genetically that we can maybe start to define some smaller areas. And that helps us as researchers and managers to estimate these populations on a better scale. And those scales make it a lot easier for us to estimate and make it relevant to game management. In conclusion, this project is hopefully going to get the department into a spot where we are working on parallel predator-prey monitoring. What do I mean by that? Well, I'm working with Stuart Itoga in our deer management program, trying to develop a method and techniques where we can count not only deer, but simultaneously count mountain lions at the same place at the same time we're counting deer. And that can help refine our management of deer and antelope and elk in this state. So moving forward, we're trying to get to a point where we are conserving and managing broad ecosystems and not so much single species management, because that's got us to where we currently are with managing our game species. And lastly, and this is what I need your help on, is getting the word out that projects like this underscores hunter contribution to conserving game species and non-game species alike. The reason I bring that up is because this project is funded in part by hunter contributions from folks like you. Thank you.